Welcome to Tiny Changes Big Shift podcast, hosted by transformational trainer and catalyst coach Vickidawn. This is a window to what's possible, lifting you to the freedom to take bold action in your recovery, a place where life's challenges are made easy. So I'll start by saying welcome to episode 29 of Tiny Changes Big Shift podcast. Kick the judge to the curb. I'm excited to have you here, Leellen.
Well, thank you. It's nice of you to have me.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
In what capacity I am? Let's see.
Well, you make jewelry.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
I do. I make jewelry, and I am a retired mortgage loan officer and a office manager loan closer for an abstract company. I haven't worked for over 11 years. And I have been a sober person for over 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just recently you had a birthday. That's
I
so
did.
exciting. Yeah. So our topic is judgment of yourself, of others, of circumstances, or in the language of our program, people, places, and things. Our judge formed in childhood, as we know, and that's where we absorbed others' opinions and maybe their worldview and incorporated them into our own. And some of them worked, and many of them limit us. And the biggest way the judge, I name mine the janky judge, with an ensemble of characters that I call the Haterade crew, is it tells me I can't. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough experience. And this stops me from expressing my gifts because it stops me from taking on things new. Unless I really drag myself by the ear, say, come on, you're doing it. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's the obvious, of course, the judge that's hard on us. How does your judge show up, Lee Ellen?
Well, my judge, shows up. It's always been there. It's been there since I was young. I have always felt judged by family. I think it showed up as I wasn't ever good enough. I had an older sister who was extremely smart. She was always thin, she was always outgoing, and she was always popular. And I just couldn't compete with that. So it was started then. And then pretty soon I quit trying. And so I myself felt like it didn't matter. I would never be good enough. So not only was I being judged or felt like I was being judged, I judged myself. And then I started judging other people. So my judge showed up all the time. I lived with the judge. I was the judge. I was judged. It was a part of my life. It was pretty sad.
Sounds hard.
I just thought that's the way life was.
Yeah. I think all of us were so acquainted because at some point the judge convinces us that it's our friend, that it's there to protect us, to, well, in my case, sometimes if I do it just perfect, then I am not subject to any judgment because you can't judge perfect, right? But perfect
Yeah.
is such a high bar and I never could reach it, and nobody can. So I know you're in the program also, and you've worked the program and been diligent about that. And done what you needed to do there, and still the judge is present. Were you aware, even well into your recovery, that you had that judge living there?
No, I didn't until later in the program after working my steps. In fact, I didn't even know what boundaries were. I had no boundaries. And I grew up in a family with 10 kids, and there couldn't be boundaries. It nobody knew what a boundary was. But also I didn't know that I didn't know how to think nicely of other people. I judged them quietly in my mind, and I never thought anything was wrong with that. I never. It was a terrible thing when I found out that, boy, I didn't have. I thought in my mind all the time about somebody when I would see them on the street, when they would walk in my office, when they left my office. And it was like, is that what people, I thought that's what they were doing with me, is judging me in that way. And when I got into the program and found that, no, that's not how people are, that they're loving and kind. And somebody said to me once, "Why do you always say such horrible things about people?" I thought, well, doesn't everybody? I mean, I actually said to this person, well, they don't hear me say it. I don't say it in front of them.
Right.
It's like, they don't hear me say it. And she said, yeah, but you know what I think? I think when I leave the room, you're probably saying that about me too.
Ooh, that took
And
you
I
up short.
never, ever thought, I just thought, yeah, well, and I knew that was happening behind my back. That's what I thought, because that's what was happening in my home, when I grew up.
Right. Right.
So I really made a conscious effort from that point on to not think those thoughts, and then I wouldn't say them, or to not say them and then I wouldn't think them. And
Yeah.
it worked. It really worked. But it
Yeah.
took the program and working the steps and taking that catalyst class of yours, to weed out those things in my life, those character defects, and being able to name my judge and to say, oh, I don't need that. I don't, that isn't part of my life I want. What a shortcoming to have.
And you're not alone. That's the other thing. We
That's it.
all have
Yeah.
a judge.
Yes. And I didn't think other people did when I learned, how horrible it was that I was being. I thought, I don't want anybody else to ever know this. Here I
Yeah.
am talking about it.
Yeah.
you know.
Haven't
But
times changed?
yeah.
What about circumstances? Do you find that you judge circumstances in your life?
Well, I did. I always blamed things that have happened in my life as, well, that's the reason why I am the way I am. But I think I changed things in my mind to make it okay for me to act the way I act. Well, the way I grew up was the circumstances that made it okay for me to be
Sure.
judgmental.
Sure.
So I don't do that. I don't believe that anymore. I think, sure, there's a lot of circumstances that happen in your life, but you have a choice as to what to make of them. And
Yeah.
I can I lived with those circumstances and what I believed them to be again until I took a class that said, let's look at it. Let's look at what really happened. And it was a little different than what I made it out to be when I looked back and thought, that isn't the truth.
That's another key point. The judge lies to us.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. I
Yeah.
made it. I wanted to believe what I wanted to believe. And it wasn't the truth.
And it fits our perception, maybe, of how we interpreted events because we are just always meaning making machines. And as humans, we try to make sense of our experiences and what happened. And of course, when we're young and we're forming these judgments, we don't have the sophistication of or maturity. And so we do form some pretty ridiculous, in my case, judgments about myself and my place in this world and what to expect.
Right. And I'm not sure that I still have the sophistication to figure it out. And that's why I don't want to stop learning. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to stop learning on how to discern what's going on with my emotions and with that judge and how to change those reactions and those thoughts and those shortcomings. I don't want to go back to thinking that way,
Right.
you know?
And you used the word discernment earlier, and I think it's a good place to clarify. Yes, we don't want to put our hand on a hot stove, so our judge telling us that is a flippin' hot stove, don't touch it, is a good thing. And there's also times where the judge really can come in handy in protecting us or uh, putting up that wall if somebody is being harmful to us. It's not saying we can't discern what is good for us and what's not by following. It's that judge when it steps in to say you're stupid, they're
Mm-hmm.
stupid,
Mm-hmm.
the one that says I can't, oh you better not try that because what if you fail, that judge is the one we're talking about here that we want to let go of.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I still let that judge tell me, "Oh, you don't want to sell that jewelry you make. It's just not good enough for, people, or people are going to scoff at it, or they're not going to buy it. Don't try."
Yeah, vulnerability.
You still I still face that all the time, and it takes a lot of changing
Courage.
change that to get the courage to just go out there and do it,
Yeah. And
and
support, right?
oh, definitely, definitely, yeah. And it takes the support that I get from the people I know in the program is amazing. And sometimes they push and they push and they push, and I like to try to ignore it, but it's there. And I have to admit, geez, why don't I try it? Why don't I?
Mm-hmm.
And what have I got to lose? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
That's
I
another
mean,
good point.
I'm 66 years old. So what else am I going to do?
Yeah, what can happen?
Right.
If they don't buy it,
Yeah.
okay, they didn't buy it. They're
I
not
get
buying it now when you don't put it out there, right?
right. And I get to wear it tomorrow then.
Yeah. Yeah. We know that part of growing is to push ourselves outside our comfort zones, and that's what you're talking about there.
Yes.
And this is also where the judge can get really mouthy and really give us come to Jesus moment, the difference between pushing ourselves with the judge and letting our inner voice guide us through love and compassion is where we can shift. Because the judge says, you can't get it done without me. You need me to browbeat you. You need me to take you to task. And that, yes, is true. We can get something done and do, but it doesn't feel as good, right? If
No.
we do it with letting our inner voice say, you can do this. Look at how you've grown. If you get scared, you can just stop and say a prayer, or you can stop now and try again tomorrow. And what a difference between browbeating and being loving to yourself.
Yeah, and I don't know where that changed in my life, because I used to be the one who did everything. And I had all the confidence of that I was the best at what I knew. Just at the things that I knew. I could stand up in front of 1,000 people and tell them what they needed to do to purchase a house, to close on a house, to anything. But and I couldn't teach somebody else to do it because only I could do it well. And I couldn't work with somebody else because they couldn't do it as well as I could. And I had all the self-confidence in the world, and I was kind of very snarky about it. But
Sure.
then when I couldn't work anymore, I lost all confidence in myself, in anything that I could do. And it's taken a lot of years to build any self-confidence back up and to regain any thought of you are good enough to do things.
That we let that judge be in control for so long and tell us that our worth is dependent on our performance, or our
Cor-
worth is, dependent on our job. I did that same thing. And then when it was gone, it was almost devastating. And to pick up the pieces and even start to become aware that that judge had told me that for so long, it's pretty incredible.
It is. But on one hand, I don't ever want to go back to be that person.
No.
Never. And it's like, what was that all about? Ugh. A lot of amends had to be made there.
Yeah.
But I had a lot I could be proud of. I helped a lot of people, but I'd rather be who I am today.
Yeah.
And
And adding that confidence back in,
yes,
yeah, as
yes,
a place with love and compassion and
yes,
true connection to what you really want to do,
yeah,
and being okay to say no sometimes.
yep. And I'd love to be able to bake a person a cake and bring it to their home rather than having to spend 3 months trying to get them that home. It's like, let me do that for you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
life does change. And if you can just keep it simple, that judge stays out of my life. If I keep it simple, it
How do you
helps.
know when the judge is taken over, when it's been triggered? How do you know?
my my guts just clench, and my judge shows up. I get kind of angry.
Ah,
I really, I'm a reactor, and I don't like that. That's the first thing I have to do, is tell myself, don't react, don't react, don't react.
so pause.
Yeah,
Pause.
pause. Really,
Mhm.
I want to. I want. I hurt. It hurts when that judge shows up, and I'm either angry or sad, I'm hurt. It all comes down to fear, I think. It comes all back at me in fear that,
Yeah.
oh, here I go. I'm going to revert all the way back to childhood, and I don't want that. So, I'm going to hurt back. I'm going to hurt somebody back. And I'm so happy to have learned I don't have to do that. I don't have to be that person.
Yeah. And you raised an important point, three important points there. One is that you can let go, and what you're letting go is the resentment and your right to retaliate, which, we say turn it over. And sometimes I used to think, what the heck am I turning over? And that's exactly what I was turning over. And then forgiveness. And of course, we talk a lot about praying for that person that steps on our toes and recognizing that they're a sick human being just like we are. And that can be hard to do when we have an order of wrongs in our society. If somebody murders you, that's worse than character assassination by gossip, right?
Yes.
So we can say, well, I'm not that bad,
Yes.
Yeah.
That was much worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
How does
don't
the
put
judge?
me down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How does that judge impact your relationships?
I didn't trust anybody.
Mm.
I just didn't trust anybody. I had a wall built in front of me so high that I was so isolated and lonely and depressed. I couldn't let anybody in, and that got me nowhere very fast. I mean, it took a lot of outside help, and it took a really good sponsor and trusting that one person enough where I could say, I need your help, and please listen to me and help me through it,
Yeah.
So when I could build up trust of that one person and really look at the program, yeah, I do need it in order to survive my life, then things started falling into place.
Well, you wanted real connection, and you started to find out what that was. Me too, when I first was in recovery. And it's the hardest thing for all of us to ask for help and then to listen. Sometimes when that judge is telling us we already know your motive. I already know what you're going to say. I already know how you feel about me. I
Yep.
already, that judge is there saying, I'm so smart. I got all this covered, and prove it.
Yep.
So, wow. And yeah, you're right. Those walls get higher and higher, and it is a lonely place to be. So the judge can be very destructive.
Right. And I loved to tell people, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Which, boy, oh boy, did I need people to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And
To
yes,
become young again and
yeah,
open-minded and
willing to
yeah.
change. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that change word. And when I was willing to change, then I was happy to change. I was so happy. I found and saw women in this program that I wanted to be like, and they just the humbleness and the smiling, happy, honest, true women. I thought, yeah, I want that. I
Yeah, and
truly
not
want
perfect.
that. And not perfect.
And okay
Yeah.
with that.
And people liked them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
What tools do you use now to shift out of that judge and into a better voice of wisdom or loving, compassionate response?
The main tool that I use is helping others. I find that's the best way that I can shift out of judgment. I when I couldn't work anymore, I just felt useless, absolutely useless. I didn't think there was anything good about my life anymore. And I decided then and there that my higher power must want something of me. And I decided it had to be that I'm supposed to be helping others, doing what I could do physically and mentally. And that helped. But also then just the only other thing I can do is the readings, daily readings, and lots of meetings. If I'm in a mood when I wake up, I can stay in that mood all day and not want to change it. But I
Right.
get into a meeting in the morning and it changes my whole day. It changes my whole demeanor. I remember, oh yeah, this isn't the way my higher power wants my day to go. And people need me to be a different person too. So
That's an important point that you remember. You remember who you really are. I think
yeah,
sometimes we think we have, and the judge will tell us that, well, you're not good enough the way you are.
go back to bed and pull the covers over
Yeah,
your head.
yeah. And just by being open and being around other people is a reminder that you really do have something to give and you really do have a place and a purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I need to hear that a lot of time. If I don't share what's wrong, then I'm not going to hear that. There's been a lot wrong for everybody over the last few years with COVID and the isolation and people need to share.
Yeah,
We need to help each other.
yeah. It's an unprecedented time. We sure know that.
Because if I'm alone and sitting here, I can judge you without ever hearing you say a word.
Yeah. Yeah. I know all about you and what
Yes.
your shortcomings are, what your strengths are, how you should be showing up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And there's no connection in that. There's just
no.
some self righteousness in
Yes,
that, I
yes.
guess. Ooh, that's an ugly word. I don't like that word, but it's
No.
true for me a lot. Do you have any final thoughts, Lee Ellen?
Uh, I just am so thankful. And that's another thing. Thankful or gratitude
Mm.
is
Hmm.
really takes away that judge. Uh,
Yeah.
just being grateful for what I have stops me from judging what other people are, what I think other people are thinking. Hey, I have my life and I'm proud of what I have done with it and where I'm at and the love that I have for my kids and my grandkids and my friends. I've learned to love deeply. I think the love and gratitude of the people in this program are deeper than anything I've ever known. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. And we can kick that judge right to the curb.
Yes. Park him on the sidewalk.
You bet. And run him
Somebody else.
over.
Yeah. I was going to say let somebody else pick him up, but I like your solution
Yeah,
better.
run him over with every bike that drives that sidewalk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here today.
Oh,
Is
thank
there a
you.
place that you sell your jewelry? Or can somebody reach out to you somehow?
Oh, you can reach out to me but you can give me a call at my phone number, 218-380-0110. And then my hairdresser, Teresa, has a few of my things for sale. She's been kind enough to really push women's who have crafts or tea salon, yes.
And in addition to that, she does beautiful color work, just to
yes,
put in
she
a plug
does.
for her, and haircuts.
And haircuts. She's done my hair for 20 years. So
Yeah,
wonderful person. I like to keep it fun and simple.
and creative. They can also find you on Facebook, Leellen Olson, right? Olson.
Yes.
And maybe you'll be putting some pictures of your
Oh, I guess
jewelry out
somebody
there.
is trying to push it. Yes.
It's
That
just
little
possible.
push we talked
It's
about.
just possible. It's not a guarantee.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Oh,
thank
thank
you,
you, Vicki.
Leellen. I'm really grateful that you were here.
Oh, I'm very thankful that you asked me to be.
To my audience, thank you for listening. I love emails from you. Send them to info@vickidawn.com. Tell me what you'd like to hear discussed. Until next time, remember, you create your beautiful life, one moment, one step at a time.